Good morning. Happy Hump Day. We are officially 1 week into Lent. That's about all I got so far. But, you know what? I do have a low and high in active kindness, and luckily when it comes to both the low and the high, it's the sort of thing where, wait. Sorry, I'm just thinking about what I'm going to talk about today. But, low and high, pretty obvious. My mom and I got in a fight, but we made up. So, low and high. And I got to spend the evening with my family. That's also part of the high. And my act of kindness was I took the garbage out for my folks, because today is garbage day. And I did that for them. So, I meant to talk about this yesterday, but, I wanted to talk about what I'm about to talk about today yesterday. But, honestly, the Hot Ones guest takes priority. So that's why I dedicated yesterday's video to, talking about Quentin Brunson, who's going to be this week's Hot Ones guest. Which is good, because now I have this entire video to talk about the thing I really want to talk about, which is one of my all-time favorite comedians, Randy Feltface, came out with a new stand-up special. It's currently on YouTube for your viewing pleasure, which is awesome. It's called Feltopia. Now, if you're not familiar with who Randy Feltface is, basically, he's a puppet. He is a puppet. A purple, giant, bug-eyed, bald, felty puppet. And he is one of my all-time favorite comedians. And I've seen every single one of his stand-up specials. I've heard all of his best jokes. I've heard, pretty much anything Randy Feltface related I've seen and or heard of. And I love Randy. I remember back before I even moved out and started living on my own, I was still living with my parents. Randy is Sober and Randy Writes a Novel were my introductions to his work. Well, actually, I take that back. My first introduction to Randy, believe it or not, was when he was actually a contestant on that one NBC show, Bring the Funny. And he was there, he was funny, but I didn't think I didn't really pay much of it because, lots of comedians and comedic groups, are either well-known or they're not. I mean, Lou Berger was on Bring the Funny, and I love Lou Berger, so I guess being a fan of Randy Feltface was meant to be. I mean, actually, I became fans of Keith Havisberger from the Try Guys before I started liking Lou Berger. But if you're shout out to Lou Berger. Lou Berger's awesome. Anyway, so I think after that, his tiny brief stint on Bring the Funny, that's when I saw both Randy Writes a Novel. Actually, I saw Randy Writes a Novel first, then Randy is Sober. But, man, I must have watched both of those like a dozen times each. And, listen, I grew up watching The Muppets, Sesame Street. I love, anything Jim Henson related, chances are I saw when I was a kid. I love puppets. Obviously I'm a fan of Jeff Dunham and, Jay Johnson, Darcy Ling. I love ventriloquism. I love, puppet. This is like the Sesame Street puppets. That's what Randy is kind of. That's what he's closer akin to. So I love Randy's work. So needless to say, when he came up with a new stand-up special, I wanted to watch it so bad. So, literally I got up super early this morning, watched his stand-up special, and it was just fun from start to finish. Honestly, this is some of his best work. It really is. Which is, a lot of Randy's work is his best work. In fact, one of his bits throughout the stand-up special is, whenever he brings up a joke that he did in years ago, he would stand in attention like actually it would be he was on this side of the stage, so I'd be going on this like this, right? He'd be like, and then because he's a puppet, he'd do like a flashback thing where he would say his old joke, and it was like he talked about self checkout. He talked about vaping and how you're a real piece of garbage if you vape. He talked about his arguably one of his most famous jokes is blueberries are purple. But basically, this whole special was how he was going to run for president of the United States in 2024. Now, if you're not familiar with Randy Feltface, then you wouldn't know that he is from Australia, which brings up the question, how can an Australian become president of the United States? Because for those of you who are not familiar with constitutional rights, you have to be a natural born American to be president of the United States. I myself could be president of the United States. Should I be president of the United States? No, I should not. I don't know, maybe. You know what? Ask me that question in about 20 years, maybe. But the answer to that is no. Actually, I take that back. Right now, I actually wouldn't be old enough to run. Fun fact, another rule to become president of the United States, you have to be at least 35 or older. I'm 34. Although, if I did run for president of the United States right now, and let's say for the sake of argument, I did actually get elected to be president of the United States, I wouldn't be inaugurated or, put in office until January of next year, in 2025. And by that point, I will have already turned 35. So, yeah, I think that would work. Yeah, I think that totally works. Point is, that was essentially the bit that Randy was running for president in 2024. And, right, I was going to say, how was he going to be elected president? And, you know what? It's the kind of joke where if it was a snake, it would have bit me. But obviously, Randy Feltface is a puppet. Puppets are comprised of, different parts. Some of those parts, made in America. So, bit of a loophole right there. And that's funny. It is. I mean, look, just like when I talked about, Gabriel Iglesias' Stadium Fluffy, or, Dave Chappelle's Dreamer, or, did I do my video on Bert Kreischer Razzle Dazzle? Well, point is, Randy Feltface, like all comedians, any of the comedy that they do is all subjective. It'd be kind of hard for me to say that comedy isn't a person's thing because, everyone has to laugh at something. Everyone has to find something funny or someone funny. So, if for whatever reason comedy isn't your thing, I don't think Randy Feltface is, well, let's be real here. If comedy isn't your thing, no one's going to be able to make you laugh. So, if you're a fan of puppetry, a fan of Randy Feltface, obviously this is for you. This is absolutely for you. If you're a fan of, and that's actually the thing. Randy's been doing this stuff for at least 15 years now. At least 15 years. 15 years. And at age 43, because for those of you who don't know, puppetry is a lot of work. So the fact that Randy's comedy is so fast and sporadic and move back and forth and really fast, and basically the fact that Randy's a puppet with one facial expression, Like, that facial expression can really say so much in terms of tone and how what he says is spoken, and that creates humor. My point is, like, he's still able to do it. And again, puppetry, not necessarily that easy to do. So, I believe his puppeteer is Ian McIver. So I think that's what his name is. I don't think I'm giving that much away. So, major props to Ian McIver for doing his puppeteering thing. I mean, it's hard. Much like when I talked about Dave Chappelle's The Dreamer, it really is hard for me to talk about some of the jokes that he does in this special, what Randy does in this special, without giving too much away. Although, one joke I can definitely tell you, because Randy even says this himself, is actually, it harkens back to the blueberries are purple bit that I mentioned a minute ago. Not a minute ago, but a couple minutes ago. Where, believe it or not, the whole blueberries are purple thing didn't originate from Randy. In fact, it came from one of the greatest comedians to have ever lived, George Carlin. Now, George Carlin was a very funny comedian. I actually remember George Carlin being Mr. Conductor on a Shining Time station. In fact, it was because of George Carlin I wanted to become a huge fan of Thomas the Tank Engine. But I didn't know he was a comedian then. He was just, Mr. Conductor. Actually, there were like some episodes of Shining Time Station that was either George Carlin. There were other episodes where Mr. Conductor was Ringo Starr. So, yeah, I was familiar with Ringo Starr and George Carlin before I knew what they were legitimately known for. Ringo Starr being the drummer for the Beatles. Meanwhile, George Carlin being, a really funny comedian. But hands down, the one joke that George Carlin is probably most known for are the 7 words that you can't say on television or radio. Now, several of those words, it is okay to say right now. In fact, I personally have said, have I said all 7 words on camera? Actually, no, I haven't. I know for a fact there are several words I have. Of those 7 words, I know for a fact I've said probably 3 of them. I don't want to give away what they are because, again, children could potentially be watching this. So, yeah, that's what George Carlin's known for. But George Carlin also said that, blueberries are purple. And Randy Feltface definitely addressed this. Here's the thing, though. When George Carlin first wrote that joke and said that joke, and keep in mind, Randy knew who George Carlin was. He knew of George Carlin's existence. He even said, George Carlin is one of the greatest comedians who ever lived. But George Carlin did the blueberries are purple joke 2 years before Randy was even born. So, yeah. And I get that. And here's the thing. Comedians using jokes from other comedians isn't entirely unheard of. Lots of comedians have done that. I mean, that's the thing. If I was ever in stand-up, one thing I would definitely do, if I was going to say, borrow something from a comedian, I would at least have the decency to say, this comedian said this. It's like signing a paper. Remember when you had to write those papers in college, in high school and college, and you had to cite your sources and then make those stupid bibliographies at the end of every paper? That's exactly what I would do. Only what I would do is much more entertaining and, worthwhile. If I was a stand-up comedian, of course. I'm not, though. At least not now. I mean, I've thought about doing it myself. I have been. It's just, I will admit, I'm not as thick-skinned as I come across. There are things that really do get to me, and I really do think it would just devastate me if I got straight booed off stage. It really would. I mean, I don't think I would necessarily bomb, but, you know, I still wouldn't want it to happen to me. But on the whole, you know, it really was great seeing Randy again. I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of laughs. Well, here's the thing. I wanted to say I laughed. I didn't. Not everything I saw was extremely funny. It was. It's just, if I spent the entire time laughing, I really wouldn't be able to do much when it came to making this video now, would I? Because all I said was that I laughed so hard I didn't pay attention to anything Randy said. So, needless to say, this really is some of Randy Feltface's best work. Hands down. If you're a fan of Randy Feltface, if you like puppetry, if you like Australian comedians, this is definitely, you know, this is for you. If, you know, you want to have yourself a good laugh, by all means, give this a watch. And to Randy Feltface, thank you for, you know, it's funny, because from what up until, before Feltopia, that's the name of the special, Feltopia. Wow, the video's almost over, and only now did I actually say the name of the stand-up special. Anyway, because there's Randy is Sober, Randy Writes a Novel, The Book of Randy Kiss, Purple Privilege, Smug Druggles, Feltopia. So there should be 6, but someone once said there may be 7. Well, as of now, I've seen every stand-up special that Randy's done that's actually been recorded and, you know, people can watch it. Come to think of it, yeah, I think I've seen every stand-up special that, you know, is at least known about of Randy. I'm sure there are others, but Lord knows what they are. I've done that for several comedians, actually. I've done it for Randy Feltface. I've done it for Eliza Schlesinger. I've done that for Patton Oswalt. I've done that for Bert Kreischer. I've done that for Dave Chappelle. So, yeah. You know, I've seen everything that Randy's done. And much like all the other times, I had a blast while watching. So, to Randy Feltface, he's not going to watch this. Oh, I mean, the off chance he does. Thank you. Thank you for the laughs. Thank you for continuing to do what you do. I wish you much success going forward. I hope all is well with you and everything going on in your life. You know, thank you. Honestly, I needed it. I needed a good laugh, and I sure got one. I hope you like this video. If you'd like to subscribe to the YouTube channel, follow on social media. As always, I'm very home in this video. For all of you guys watching, enjoy video. It will be a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful Wednesday. Did I do Happy Hump Day? Yeah, I did do Happy Hump Day. And remember that you guys want to talk to channels, we're here to let you know that. Take care and make good choices. 607 all day, baby.